All right. Welcome to Teams Talks. I'm David Powers. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. In these sessions in Teams Talks, we want to present an opportunity for the students to meet our MAVS Edge partners and to highlight opportunities from those partners. MAVS Edge is a program where we assist our employer partners with developing internship opportunities or assist employers who already have an internship program with promoting those opportunities and driving traffic and awareness to their handshake posting. So we're also going to discuss a topic that is relevant to your internship search, as well as getting to meet our employers. And today's topic is one of the, I think, most stressful for students and nebulous and kind of confusing is networking. So we're going to talk about how to network, what networking is, how to get started. I'm really excited to get into that. And I'm joined today by Ari Paz of Axion Community Development. Good afternoon, Ari.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm actually joining you all from Austin, Texas. I'm visiting my brother. It's his last semester at UT. And I do speak to him about networking a lot as well. I'm ready to do an introduction whenever.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Yeah, I like to start each of these sessions with kind of a practice that I think it's really important to students to be able to pitch, to introduce themselves, and to hear other people pitch, and to kind of give their thoughts, give some thought to what their elevator statement or elevator pitch ought to sound like. So I'm going to give my elevator pitch, and I still get nervous doing it depending on who the audience is or whether it's being recorded or not. So this is typically how I would introduce myself to an employer or maybe even potentially a student. Hi, I'm David Powers. I'm the Assistant Director of Internships here at the Lockheed Martin Career Development Center, which means I assist our employer partners with developing internship programs, and I direct our MAVS Edge internship program. Ari, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ari Paz. I own and manage a real estate and construction firm in Dallas-Fort Worth. I offer project management to small-scale builders, meaning most of them don't build more than about 20 units a year. I work with a lot of contractors as well, helping developers with replatting or property owners with leasing their units, and a few other real estate services. Currently, our volume is mostly in wet utility infrastructure, meaning we perform the installation or improvements of water and wastewater lines to new sites.
That's a super introduction. And what I talk to students about all the time is what's appropriate for the audience, right? What's appropriate for that meeting? If you were in our previous meeting, I'm going to be referring back to a meeting that Ari and I had a couple months ago when she joined the Edge program. I was so impressed with her story and all that she's been able to accomplish. If you were introducing yourself to a possible business partner or at a meeting of some sort and giving your title in your organization, what would that look like for you, or how would that sound?
I would maybe shorten it to one sentence. You want to attract the attention of any company you're pitching to, or if you're networking and trying to pick up a mentor here, or trying to maybe get a recommendation letter from a professor, you really want to make sure you're very clear and direct. A lot of us can kind of ramble. I know I do that sometimes. I want to explain myself and end up giving people reading an essay to them. So I think I would maybe go with something like, good afternoon, Mr. Henry. I'm Ari Paz. I own and manage Axion Community Development in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're a local firm that offers real estate and construction services. And leave it at there. I'm telling him what I do, what my name is, and what area I work in.
Yes, I mean that's fantastic. What's the relevant information for that context and that situation? You can I think oftentimes students get so nervous they feel like they have to sell themselves. And we're about to have our career fair this week, and there's going to be a lot of pitching, right? There's going to be a lot of walking from table to table and introductions, and a lot of times you don't need a 20 or 30-second introduction, in that setting. Who you are, what your major is, maybe what your plans are, your time to graduation, when they'd be able to hire you, when you graduate, and then why you're talking to them, right? Why you're interested in the position or why you're at the table. Fantastic. Thank you for providing that overview. I would love for you to talk a little more about, your personal story was really, really interesting to me, and how you were able to build relationships and network almost naturally. It was just really interesting to hear how you met people and saw opportunities. Is kind of the way I remember it. You care to kind of take us through your career and kind of your development, even starting back at the early stages? I thought that was fascinating. We could learn a lot from that.
Yes, thank you. So I began my career in the criminal justice field. I did that for about 3 years. But at the time, I was working the night shift. I was in grad school working on my MPA. And in grad school, I learned about economic development. And I knew I did not want to keep working nights. So I was looking to transition careers. And because I was introduced to working in local municipalities, creating budgets, managing finances for projects, I became very interested in the real estate development sector. And I was actually doing some research on a local nonprofit, and one of the board members for the nonprofit worked as a project manager for a developer that I ended up working for. And that's why connections are so important, because I was not qualified for the position. I did have a lot of administrative experience by then, but because I was able to build a strong relationship with that woman, she ended up just reaching out and saying, hey, my administrative assistant is leaving next week. Are you interested in a position? And it was my last year of grad school, and I was looking for an opportunity. I didn't know exactly where to go because my experience was I had mixed experience, so I didn't know where exactly I could go with the experience I had at the time. I was working in higher education as an advisor, at the same time working at a jail. So through that relationship, I did get a full-time job offer from them. I had a pretty good salary at the time. I think I was 23, and what they offered me was very attractive. So even though I did not know much about real estate development, specifically in the commercial retail sector, I just jumped in, kind of relied on her as a mentor. So she was a project manager. I was her administrative assistant. And through that relationship, I just started meeting a lot of the other professionals in the industry. Anytime I saw someone on LinkedIn who worked in construction, real estate development, or if someone came by the office, maybe a vendor, I tried to be polite and always communicate with all of them. Maybe I wasn't working for them or I didn't know them, but you never know where that next relationship is going to get you. So you want to make sure you introduce yourself to as many people as possible. And you want to make sure that you're very clear about what your goals are, because you can be at this level right now, but if your goal is to get up here, who do you know in between those two areas that can help you get up here? It might be someone you met 5 years ago, someone you met yesterday at the gas station. You just never know. So through that relationship, I learned a lot about real estate development, because she was also doing some work outside of her full-time job, where I was also helping her with that because we were good friends. So after that, I wanted to come back to Dallas, because with that developer, we were building a lot of retail: Starbucks, 7-Eleven, Popeyes, Burger King, the small Walmart convenience stores. but I wanted to work on housing. So I tried to meet as many people as possible in Dallas that worked in housing, meaning they were either residential builders or contractors that did work for residential developers, any planners or consultants that helped with the subdivision of land. And I met most of them through LinkedIn. This was also pre-COVID, so I was going to maybe 5 networking events a month just to get out there.
Dang.
And back then I wasn't as confident as I am now in just approaching someone like, hey, how did you hear about this event? But the more you think about it, the more difficult it is to get out there. So I would just say, well, this can lead to an opportunity. So I just started approaching other people on LinkedIn and attending events. So through that, I did pick up a few mentors who said, well, this is who you need to talk to, or this is the advice I can give you. So I kind of put all that together, and I did apply to multiple jobs in Dallas, and I was either underqualified or overqualified. So ultimately, I started my own consulting firm.
But let me take you back, because that sounded so easy. All that's, I mean, you made it sound so easy. You know, I met this person, I met that person, I reached out here, I reached out there. You know, and that doesn't speak to all the effort that you put into that, thought that you put into that. I was just kind of curious when you said you started meeting people in Dallas. You know, again, that sounds easy, but did you use primarily LinkedIn to start to make those connections within the industry? And I guess my other question would be, we talk a lot about mentoring and the importance of a mentor and what that looks like. I was curious if you could talk a little more about how you developed that mentor relationship. You said you added other mentors along the way. How did you reach out and connect with those folks in that way?
Honestly, I would just go on Eventbrite and look up events in Dallas that were in the industries I wanted to get into: real estate, construction, community development, planning and urban development. And I didn't necessarily know what all that meant. I had no idea what development was, community development, urban planning, all of that. But nobody knows everything. It takes all of us time to learn different things. So I didn't let that intimidate me. When I did go to networking events and I spoke to some people, there were obviously the really nice people who wanted to help me and were okay with my lack of knowledge in the industry.
Right.
But then there were also some very mean people who kind of made me feel out of place. Like, what are you doing here? But I didn't let it stop me, because I knew I could go far, and all I needed to do was maybe dedicate more time. So I did a lot of research. I learned a lot of stuff on my own. A lot of the services I offered through my firm, I did not learn in school or in the technical courses I took, but we have the internet, and Google University is like one of the best institutions you can attend. Just spending time on there, looking up anything you want to learn about is really helpful.
You've got my mind going in so many different directions. I've almost got to regroup and process what you said. I had 3 or 4 questions, but I kind of lost them. They'll come back hopefully in just a moment. So if I were a student, that's gutsy. I mean, it really, what you did is that it takes a lot of courage to do that. I guess, it's coming back to me now. The question that I wanted to ask, so you can help us toughen up just a little bit. And I think it would be entertaining to hear, what was, if it's appropriate to share, what was the worst thing you had said to you by the mean people?
One guy said, "You're kind of new to this. Maybe you shouldn't have came."
Dang, that's
yeah,
rough. Right.
I think I asked something and he was just like shocked that I was so new to the industry. I guess it was like a networking event for more experienced professionals.
Right.
But I did feel kind of bad. I probably left for that event earlier. than intended. But that's just what you're going to face every day, whether you're early young professional, mid-level professional, or someone with 30 years of experience. There's always going to be those people that are going to make it challenging for you to move forward with your career. But I always tell people to apply all that negative feedback, negative energy into something positive. Prove them wrong, pretty much.
Do you consider yourself an extroverted person? I mean, did that come natural to you? Do you enjoy generally and get energy from meeting people, or would you say you're more introverted?
I'm a mix of both. I love being on my own. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone for like a few hours a day because I just need to decompress and re-energize. And that's how I do that. Shut off my phone, just read a book on my own. But then I also get a lot of strength from speaking to people and hearing their stories, being motivated and knowing what they're going through, because we all have different challenges and we manage challenges differently. So just learning from others really keeps me going, just seeing how they manage things.
Right. Do you, I was curious, I love you said it was Eventbrite where you found those things. You give away all the cool secrets. Eventbrite, and you know, as just someone who moved to Texas 3 years ago, you know, I went through some of that. Where do I go to try to get connected, to find groups? I mean, you know, and it is kind of it's important to become a member of different things. I mean, I know a lot of students, especially those who are introverted, they may not consider themselves joiners, you know. So that's, I think it's really important is to understand where these sources are for networking, where you can meet the people that you need to meet. And I was curious, what sort of research did you do? Any research in terms of who might be at those events? Or, I mean, I guess you just looked for the event title. What did you do to try to be strategic about your network?
I would do research on the host. Who is planning this event? Where is the event going to be hosted? Just to kind of understand what type of attendees would be there. Sometimes there were sponsors. What type of sponsors are they? Do they work in a field I'm interested in getting into? Or is it someone that maybe I could meet and then refer as a connection to someone else in my network? Anytime you help someone or meet someone, you don't really want to ask what you're gaining from it, but what can you offer them that in return they will then multiply the results of what can come from it. So I mean, even on LinkedIn, I would reach out to industry professionals directly and say, hey, I'm Ari. I'm actually looking to get into this, or I have an issue with a small project in Dallas. I see you have 30 years of experience in urban development. Would you be comfortable meeting for coffee over Zoom? That's the person I became. And a lot of people don't respond when I reach out to them on LinkedIn or email. Right. Which is fine. I understand we're all busy. Sometimes we miss emails. So I don't get mad or I'm disappointed, because if I really want to speak to them, then I have to make the effort. I have to reach out to them again, or maybe reach out to my network and see if they know them. You can't hold grudges when people don't get back to you, because we're in a busy world. Dallas is one of the busiest cities worldwide, I think. So just understanding that sometimes you have to push more to get what you want. And then going back to your how to obtain a mentor question that I skipped over.
I'm glad you picked it back up, right?
Yeah, so when I would meet with someone and connect with them, if I saw a value in that relationship, maybe I could learn from their experience, whether it was getting advice on my personal, professional life, any adventurous pursuits like travel. I would just kind of adopt them as my mentor. I wouldn't necessarily ask, but I would contact them anytime I had a question, or I would invite them out for lunch, because I wanted them to also be happy with speaking to me. And I know how difficult it is for some of the busier professionals. So I would meet them for lunch. I've driven several hours to meet someone. And I've kind of just adopted mentors that way, because if you ask someone, hey, do you want to be my mentor? A lot of people are hesitant now to take on that responsibility because it can be a lot of work. As a mentor to several folks, I can say it can be a bit difficult, but just offer a relationship. What can you support them with? They may be needing some help, a few hours with admin work, or they might be planning a trip. That's the type of mentee I like to be. I don't only want to take from you. I want you to tell me how I can also pay back the favor.
Yeah, so smart. You're so smart about this. I mean, again, I'm so excited that you agreed to chat about it, because I mean, you approach networking, and I don't know how much reading you did or study you did, or if you have books on networking that you really like, but or if it was just a natural, just sort of a natural thing. Do you think it was just your curiosity about the business that drove you to meet these people, or did you do any sort of study or research? I saw you shake your head. So
I didn't really do any research on networking. I don't think it's something that you can necessarily learn from through a book. I think it's something you have to be active and engaged in so you can understand the value of it and be more comfortable doing it, practicing the art of networking. Even now, if I'm speaking to someone, or if I have a speaking engagement, it's not something that comes easy. Even though I've been doing it for several years, it doesn't come easy to me, but I enjoy just sharing what my path has been like, because networking has really helped me build my self-worth. The people that I've met have really believed in me and pushed me to do things when I didn't believe in myself. And it's also helped me build my net worth. And I say that because the feedback and advice that they have given me on investments I have made in my education, in real estate, it's really paid off. So networking for me, it's like, it's not about what you know, it's really about who you know, because that person, that middleman or middlewoman is really gonna help you get to where you want to be at a much quicker pace, a much smoother pace. And to be very honest about it, I was looking for a land lender in Dallas, and I had a lot of trouble finding one because you can't really get financing for land unless you're a builder. I'm not a builder. Most of my clients are builders or developers. So me not being a builder, I had a lot of trouble getting financing to purchase land, and I really wanted to purchase land. So I asked everyone in my network. I did a lot of research on lenders that would maybe qualify me under the experience I have working for builders. So I met a realtor once, and it was so easy. I think we met in person at an event, and he knew a local land lender. So I kind of helped him with a project where he was trying to help his clients subdivide land and build a new house. So I did consulting for him, and then he put in a good word with his lender for me. So then I got financing to buy 2 parcels. So now I own 2 land properties thanks to that connection.
Wow. You said a couple of things a ways back that really stuck with me, that I think sabotage people when they're trying to build their networks. One really important thing that you said that I want to go back and highlight is not holding grudges. You know, when people don't get back to you. You know, we talk about that a lot, even in the job search, right? Students have applied and applied and applied and applied, and they're not hearing anything, you know, back from folks, or they have a bad experience at a networking event, and it kind of hits, you know, their confidence takes a hit. So they're not nearly as likely to want to continue to apply or to continue to reach out. So I think that's critical, not holding grudges and trying to stay positive. And then the other thing that you mentioned that I think is so important and takes a lot of pressure off of you as the networker is a big part of networking is listening and asking the right questions. And as you said, trying to be helpful. What is it they need? How could I be of assistance to them rather than me feeling like I have to pitch to you who I am, right? Have you found that some?
Absolutely. It's something I learned a while back. I don't think I fully understood it. I knew I was getting a lot back from networking, and it took a while to realize that because there were months where I was meeting so many people, making so many connections, but I didn't see the return or the value in it. And then there was those people as well that made it difficult to continue putting myself out there.
Right.
But once you understand that it takes time, sometimes you meet one person within your first event, and that person can just help elevate your career immediately because they may have a really strong network. They may work for a large company and are seeking immediate new hires. But I think once you understand the value in networking and you're patient and respectful to the time of others and offer something in return, you'll really understand why some challenges come from it and the amazing, incredible results that can also come as a result of all that effort being made.
Yeah, it's I keep thinking about the number of people you were so systematic and strategic about meeting people. I'm thinking about how large back in the old day would say how back in the old days they would say how large your Rolodex is. I mean, what your contact list looks like. And I was curious what system you might use. What we encourage students all the time. Let's say you're applying for a job and you haven't contacted your reference that you need to list in the last 5 years. Or maybe it's been 3 or 4 years since you touched base. And then your next conversation with them is, hey, can you help me with this? I want to give you something to do. I need you to write a reference letter for me, or I need for you to fill out, something on an application. I was curious what kind of thought you give to maintaining those relationships and following up with folks. Do you have a system that you use, or is it just something that comes natural?
I'm not the best at following up with people now that I know so many people, and I say that in the most humble way. I feel bad when I don't keep up with my friends because a lot of them are getting married, having babies, but they understand that I am an entrepreneur. I don't have a set schedule. I don't have a 9 to 5. I work whenever I'm needed, whether it's morning, late nights, or weekends. So we just have that respect for one another. And that's what I try to practice with my network. I know a lot of them have young kids or older kids, or they're in very strong executive positions where their time is very limited. So I do try to dedicate time every month, maybe 2 days a month, to follow up with 15 or 20 people every month. Not all of them, but like every month I'll follow up with this group, and then next month this other group, and just sending them a text. I don't expect any responses soon or ever. I just want to let them know that they're still in my prayers and that I want to keep them in my network. And when I do have events I'm attending or I'm planning, I do send out like a mass email to them because that's another way of not dedicating as much time to have lunch with everyone, but just showing them, hey, this is what I'm working on. I just wanted to update you. If you're interested or know anyone that might be, will be here, or please share their contact and I can reach out.
Yeah, that is so awesome. So you kind of do have a system. It sounds like it might not be an on paper system, but you kind of do have a system. That's very, very cool. This next question I have, I thought of kind of on the fly during the discussion. It's something that I've worked with students on in the past, and kind of be patient with me because I don't have it I don't have it perfectly articulated. So I'm going to be kind of trying to put it together. But where I'm from is very, very, very rural in Kentucky. 1,200 students, excuse me, 1,200 people in my hometown. 16 students in my graduating class. Really, really small town. So you being from a rural area where some of the best jobs are factory jobs, manufacturing jobs, production jobs in the factory, right? Were some of the best jobs that you would see. And the culture there in a rural environment, maybe even in a small town that is less advantaged, let's say, socioeconomically advantaged, maybe not coming from a, I'll just be very transparent since we're we're having a chat, maybe not coming from necessarily a status of wealth, you know, or maybe even being in a disadvantaged kind of a situation. I feel like it's really difficult to jump into, I hate to use the word class, but it is kind of a class thing, right? I mean, you're in meetings with people who I would assume are working with $1 million, maybe multi-million dollar deals, right? And you may be making them yourself. We haven't talked a ton about, you know, the inner workings of your business, but I don't know if you've always been in that position, and where you've come from. Do you have any experience in trying to jump that gap or feel comfortable maybe in a room? You know, how would you advise someone from an area like that or with a background like that? What steps could they take to make themselves feel comfortable or confident making that move? Because you really are having to step outside of a comfort zone. For instance, I knew students who'd never put on a suit, didn't own a suit, didn't want to own a suit, didn't want to wear a suit. And when they put it on, it felt, you know, it just felt off, right? They didn't feel like they were themselves. I mean, can you speak to that shift or that the difference in working through some of that? I don't know if you had to.
Yes. I think you just have to be confident and know how to sell yourself. We see a lot of great individuals and companies that are great with branding. They may not be doing what they're saying, but their branding is really attracting all these customers,
Right.
Also a strong network. So I myself don't practice any marketing because I haven't needed to. I mainly work by referral, but it's really about just being genuine with the customers or the people you're talking to, and just selling yourself. You might not have 10 years of experience, but make yourself sound like you do. Talk to them about your experience at a much higher capacity, because a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we've done. When I started managing projects, I was like, yeah, I'm just starting off. I started the business a few months ago. But then I thought, well, I worked for a developer where we worked, or I supported project managers with up to 30 projects a month. Every few months. So then that experience kind of snapped, and I said, well, I am qualified to manage your projects. I worked for one of the top retail developers in the US, and even though I did not own that company or I was not in a high leadership position, I was the person on the bottom helping a lot of the projects be carried out. So that's kind of what gave me more confidence in selling myself to new clients, but also the people I knew. If I had a big client who, let's say, built 20 homes a year, I would contact someone in my network that maybe knew him or could speak well about me, and that would also help. So that's just where networking also pays off.
Yeah, that's really smart. And like I said, very strategic. And I think the word I was looking for to encapsulate all of that rambling I was doing is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Maybe a lot of times you don't feel like maybe you belong in the room because it's not what you're accustomed to or not what you grew up around. I could talk to you all day, and time will get away from us. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your internship program and your offerings. I wanted to first off thank you for making those opportunities available to UTA students. And I just wanted you to maybe chat about the status of those positions or promote any openings that you might have currently. And then we'll wrap things up with the 5 burning questions.
Yeah, so our internship positions open up as needed. I do hire a minimum of 3 student interns a year. They can be high school interns as young as 16, or undergrad or graduate student interns. We do have an intern now that is getting her bachelor's in finance. She's working as a project coordinator. She did not have a lot of experience, but neither did I when I started working in project management. So I do like to pay back the good deed that the people that helped me did for me. So I recruit interns that are not very attractive on paper. I focus more on the conversation we have when I'm interviewing them. Then I started creating a short list of questions, I think 5 to 7 questions, asking them about themselves. How would you handle this situation in this project? Can you do research on this topic, just to see how much, how resourceful they are, pretty much, because my business has all relied on me being resourceful. Everything I do now, I did not learn in school. I learned on Google University, just doing research, what land development is, understanding zoning, permitting, all of that. So right now we are rebranding because 90% of our clients are Hispanic Spanish speakers, and we're changing our name to Vamos a Invertir, which means let's invest. And we'll make that clear on everything we share. I'm helping a lot of investors and builders or individuals, not necessarily with real estate investing, but investing in their business. So I want them to either start the entrepreneurial dream they've been having, help them grow their current business. If they need any help with financing for equipment or property so they can have an office, I'm trying to help them scale through the connections I've made with banks. So we are looking for an intern to help us kind of brand, build out the website, and maybe have some understanding of real estate development and small business management. We haven't posted anything anywhere, but we are working on creating like a 1-pager to share the requirements for that internship.
Awesome, thank you. Let's get through the burning questions, and if we have a student who would like to introduce themselves, maybe give their elevator pitch if they've got it in them this afternoon, we'd love to give them a chance to do that. But what was your first job, and what was your dream job growing up as a young professional?
My family, I was raised by entrepreneurs. They owned a small tortilla shop in Oak Cliff. My mom quit her corporate job and she had a dream of opening a small tortilla shop. We're Mexican and we love fresh tortillas. So at 13, that was my first job. But I would say my first job out of high school was I worked at a tax office. I was a front desk clerk, so I took in all the new clients. Thank you.
Who or what has been most instrumental in your career development? We talked about your networking, your success in networking, but outside of networking, what would you say has been most instrumental?
Having a strong head, not letting others stop you. I'm very honest about those certain people that I've met that have made it very challenging to continue the path I want. But then there were also people that really impacted me. About 7 years ago, I met a woman who owned her own project management firm. I visited her office in person. I did not know her at all, but someone said, hey, you should speak to her. So I went to bug her one day. She was not expecting me.
Right.
I just told her, hey, I'd love to get in project management. Someone said you were a good person to speak to. And I was stuttering. I was so nervous. And she said, well, what are you waiting for? If you want to get in project management, have you done any research about the industry? Have you reached out to others? What do you know that can help you get a position? And I said, no, like she just woke me up and I snapped. I wanted to cry after I spoke to her because she just really hit me with all this truth and realness that I've been needing to hear. So that really did push me to do due diligence to start a business.
We've talked about mentors, and you've mentioned developing mentoring relationships, but outside of your mentors, do you have any role models in general, and how did they impact you? If you wanted to give a shout out, you feel free.
Yes, I do have several role models. But when I was starting to grow the firm, I was kind of stuck, and I met a gentleman by the name of James McGee, who is the founder of Southern Dallas Progress Community Development Corporation. It's a nonprofit that is working on pushing affordable housing initiatives. And I met him through a short real estate program that I went through. But after meeting him, I shared with him what I wanted to do. And he was just very, very helpful in just saying, well, just do it. These are the people I know, you can talk to them, or hey, come to these events, you can meet people, attend this networking event or a conference. I attended a conference that he actually invited me to, and I was able to work some deals with the people I met at the conference. So back to the value of networking and building those.
You never miss an opportunity. It doesn't sound like you never miss an opportunity. What would you say was your greatest failure, and what did you learn from it?
I would say personally, when I was trying to get experience as an investor so I can then teach other investors, I didn't want to give investors consulting if I didn't have any experience in consulting. It's like working with a realtor. If they don't own property, they don't really understand what buying a home is or investing, selling a home. I bought a property when I was 23 or 24. It was my first investment property, and I did not do any due diligence or very, very little. And I ended up having a lot of trouble with that property. It turned out that it was occupied by a family who bought it illegally from a scammer. And then I was getting blown up by the media. They thought I was displacing families. So they titled local developer displacing families in South Dallas. But eventually I ended up selling it back, selling it to a philanthropist who donated it to the family occupying it. So that's my biggest failure, I would say, understanding how to do due diligence. But it was the greatest thing that could have happened to me, because now I'm so aware of all the research I have to do when investing in property, starting a business, shopping for a couch, anything. I do a lot of research on anything and everything now.
That makes it harder. Doesn't that make it harder to pick that couch once you have all that information? No? Information overload?
Quality, where was it built? Who built it? I overthink everything now.
What? Last question, and if Sierra would like to introduce herself and ask a question, we want to give her an opportunity. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Sounds like you've received quite a bit of good advice. If you could say what's number one, what would that be?
What are you waiting for? Just do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm going to reach out to Sierra. She might be just trying to be sort of behind the scenes and listen in, but let's see if she would. Sierra, if you're in a position to and you'd like to turn on your camera and your mic, or just your mic, and ask a question, you're welcome to. We'll give you some awkward wait time now to see.
I actually don't have any questions. You answered all of them. It was actually really impressive what you did.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Like I said, I was really excited that Ari made time to speak with us this afternoon. Before we wrap things up, I want to again just thank you. Always impressed. I keep up with you on LinkedIn pretty closely. Been very impressed to see all that you're involved in. And again, students could learn a lot from you by if you're willing to connect by seeing all that you're doing. Is there anything you'd like to share before we wrap things up?
No, I'm glad we had this conversation. I hope I didn't speak too much because I can ramble, but if anyone has any direct questions, I'm okay with you sharing my email or my LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer anything. And thank you for doing this. This is very much needed for the student community. Something that really impacted me in my career was hearing from other women in all these different industries, so I can then see an example, of what their experience has been like.
Yes, yeah. Thank you again, and we appreciate that. Again, we are recording this, and it will be available on LinkedIn, YouTube, and our student channel. Our next session, and it would be nice for you to get in on this one also. Our next session is March the 10th. We're going to talk about starting a business, entrepreneurship, and some of the things to consider with Rodolfo Perez. So we're excited about that. Again, that's March 10th, same time. We appreciate you guys being here. Thanks a lot. Take care. Stay in touch.